Well, as you can hear, the teams are out. It's time now to sit back and enjoy the action. It's Livingston against Celtic with Michael Stewart, Pat Bonner and Liam McLeod.
Another weekend of Premiership action getting underway here in West Lothian. The 16th league meeting between Livingston and Celtic here at Ammon Vale. Celtic have won 9 of them to Livy's 2. They both came in relatively recent seasons as well. Their last one was 6 meetings ago. Andrew Shinney's goal was enough to win 1-0 in September 21. Early in the Postecoglou era, they wouldn't lose a league game for a year after that one, when they went to Paisley almost exactly a year ago from now. In fact, Livy's record against Celtic isn't bad here. They've actually avoided defeat in 8 of the last 15 meetings between the sides since their promotion in 2018, when they've been the home team. They've only lost 1 of their 10 games all told this season. Celtic's incentive, though, is that they can go 5 points clear of St Mirren at the top of the Premiership ahead of the 3 p.m. kickoffs with a victory today. Callum McGregor joining his teammates for the traditional Celtic pre-match huddle. The Livingston players are just about ready to go. George in goal for them, Brandon DeLucas, Obolai, Penrice, Holt, Pittman, Singari, Shinnie and Newbley and Anderson. For Celtic, Hart in goal, Johnston, Lagerbilka, Scales and Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate. Forrest starts for the first time since the derby on the 2nd of January. Maida and Kyogo. John Beaton's the referee. Stephen McLean's the VAR. How often will that be required today? Livingston all in yellow with black flashes. We'll go right to left as we watch from the back of the main stand, just to the right of the 2 dugouts. The Livingston one is the closest to where we are. And Livy kick off. Celtic in the green and white hooks, going left to right. Their supporters occupying 3/4 of Ammon Vale. As an early header away by Lagerbilk out to that far side as Livingston popped the ball forward into enemy territory for the first time. It's a long clearance by Celtic. Obolai is there and he puts it out for a throw-in to the visitors over on that far side as they look to shrug off the disappointment of defeat in their Champions League opener on Tuesday evening in the Netherlands against Feyenoord. It's Taylor to Hatate, who sweeps it back into his own half, into the centre circle for Lagerbilka. Low ball out onto this near side for Forrest. Johnston on the underlap. Forrest showed a bit too much to Penrice. He's able to retain possession. Back to McGregor, now to Taylor as it's shifted out to the left-hand side. For Daisen Maida, infield for Hatate with his back to goal, passes it straight to Pittman. Poor from Hatate. Anderson stabbing it to Newbley, left of the centre circle in the Celtic half. Driving forward, Joel Newbley, such a powerhouse for Livingston. He kind of just slipped there though and took the momentum out of the attack. Penrice gives him a hand though. Slip back to Sungari.
That'll teach Martindale to water the surface, won't it?
Yeah, that's what he was telling us beforehand. Actually, when the artificial surfaces are dry, Celtic have struggled here before as they come down the right. Livingston to the edge of the box towards Newbley. It just skips away from him though, and it will pop out onto this near side for Johnston, who turns it back into his own box for Gustav Lagerbilka. Another difficult match for him. 2 yellows, conceded the penalty, which was ultimately saved by Joe Hart the other night. When Celtic were down to 10, they were down to 9 not too long after that, when Odin Holm, who's on the bench today, was also given a red card. It was a straight red for the straight leg challenge. Celtic pick up a free kick in the far side. Taylor to Maida. Maida a bit level at the edge of the D of the Livingston box. Back to McGregor, and he passes it short to Hatate. Looks up at the Livingston goal, he goes for it, but he's well off target as it swerves wide right of the goal frame and behind for a goal kick to Livingston. Goalless Packie Bonner in the early minutes.
Yeah, and Celtic, a couple of slack passes actually. I think it was Hatate and Maeda, and I always feel in this pitch that you've got to almost pass the feet. You know, if you pass into space and you're almost, you can't check your body weight and the ball gets away from you, so they have to be accurate in their passing. But that was an opportunity for Hatate there. I think it was a half decent opportunity to go and try and hit the target, but it was well off, but well away to the goalkeeper's left-hand side.
Good footwork by Taylor to get away from Anderson. He's brought to the ground by Holt, the referee allowing the advantage for Celtic. Down the left they charge with Maida. Maida level with the 6-yard line, goes down. The referee's happy with Jamie Brandon's challenge though. Maida bites back, comes off Brandon last. He's appealing that the throw-in should have gone his way. It's gone Celtic's way over on that left-hand side. Level with the Livingston 18. Taylor to Maida, back to Taylor. Taylor short to O'Reilly, to the left-hand side of the box goes Hatate. It's well read by DeLucas for Livingston, though, and he's able to clip it away. Only as far as the cushion header from McGregor to the edge of the box, where it's met by Sangare, and back into the centre circle with Lagerbielke. Looks up, clips it forward, look for Maida in behind Brandon. Brandon gets his head onto it, though, as he backpedaled into his own box. Here's Maida picking up the scraps to Hatate, looking back for Maida, left of the 6-yard box. Too much on the pass, though, and it's behind for the goal kicks. Livy nil, Celtic nil. Michael Stewart.
Yeah, we've got to say that Celtic have started the game very well. They've been bright. The game's been played in Livingston's half. They've pushed and probed and got at the Livingston defence on a couple of occasions, and Maeda in particular looking to get in behind there. It's a start that the manager will be happy with. You know, we spoke before the game about the importance of it, and as a football player you get a sense and a feel for it yourself. You start brightly, you feel like you can control the game, and you can get a real feel for things are going to be positive today. Whereas if you start poorly, in particular here against a side like Livingston, then it just makes the afternoon very, very long. Now, having said that, they need to keep doing it because it can very quickly change.
It's Greg Taylor for Celtic down the left. Level with the edge of the centre circle in his own half. He rolls it out to Maida on the touchline on the far side. Back to Taylor, who was back to Liam Scales, who's continuing this extended and perhaps unexpected stretch in the Celtic starting 11. Lagerbielke's clearance is poor, though, really poor, as it's picked up by Sangare. He goes for goal. He drives it off his own man Pittman, who didn't know much about it, and it bounces favourably here for James Forrest, one of the most decorated players in Celtic's history, coming down the right-hand side and winning the throw-in as it comes back off shinny. Pulled in by Johnston to O'Reilly.
I was just going to say, that ball that Lagerbielke was trying to play, I mean, he's the last line of defence. Yes, you know, you keep the ball and you build it. He's trying to play a ball that was never on.
There's Greg Taylor. He's found Kyogo. Come off his hand there as he shoots for goal. And it has been given as the free kick. It just bobbled off Kyogo. I'm not sure if it came off his foot first as it came into the penalty area, but it's a Livingston free kick inside the box anyway.
Yeah, Celtic in the past, Livingston in the past have had great success having three centre-halves in that area. Today they've gone with the two, and there will be spaces for Kyogo, who is really dynamic when he's in there. If he plays in to get into those little positions, just his touch that time let him down. But that's going to be an interesting one, whether David Martindale will change it. He did reference that before the game, that he can always go to a back three, maybe by bringing in Sangare into that position. But we'll see how it plays out.
The big difficulty for Livingston, for me, having watched this so far, is Greg Taylor in that position when he just steps in field, and Johnson's done it as well. They're very, very difficult to pick up, and it allows Celtic to build the game. Livingston have not really been able to suss out who's going to pick them up. He was the one that got that ball on the edge of the box and slid it into Kyogo.
Here comes Celtic down the left-hand side. Picked up by Hatate, level with the 6. Clips it back to the edge of the box. Forrest tries to control. He's got his back to goal, though, as he passes it to his captain, McGregor, to Taylor. Now Forrest at the left angle of the box. Just flicks it off Pittman. Breaks back Forrest's way, though. And then McGregor to Greg Taylor. Scored in a couple of the Livy Celtic games last season. Kyogo scored in all of them, as it's picked up by Hatate. Plays it into the 6-yard area. It's a comfortable take low for Shamal George, who's managed 5 clean sheets in his 9 appearances coming into this one this afternoon. 7 in, bang on 7 minutes. Livy nil, Celtic nil.
Yeah, Taddy getting into really good positions, and a couple of occasions into that sort of almost inside the box. He was looking up, watching and looking to see if somebody's going to make that run across the near post, and didn't happen. Kyogo chose to stick out on the edge of almost around the penalty spot, so he took on the shot, and it was easy for the goalkeeper.
Holt wide right there for Brandon. Back to Holt, back to DeLucas. Under pressure from Kyogo. He finds Ovalai, who looks up to a long right football, looking for the pacey Penrice down the left. Too much on it, though, and he goes behind for the goal kick. Thumbs up, though, from James Penrice for the attempted ball by Ovalai, and that will be a goal kick to Celtic. Should be taken by Hart. He plays it short to Scales. Back to Hart. Anderson chasing it. Lagerbielke rolls at the edge of his box for O'Reilly. Does really well. Such a cultured player, Matt O'Reilly. Finds Johnston, and And then down this right-hand side for Forrest on the halfway line, back to O'Reilly, and now with Lagerbielke. Looks to switch, it comes off Anderson's head. Again, the pass wasn't heading for the right target, but it fortuitously is still in Celtic possession as Maida wins the throw-in off Brandon over on that far side, level with the edge of the centre circle on the Celtic left as they attack the goal to the right.
Yeah, I was just sort of back. I was going to say, building up for the back there as Celtic did, you're taking risk, but the only way you're going to get away from it and get away with it and do it.
Oh, Obalai just took it away from his goalkeeper there. Obviously didn't hear him. Long ball came forward. It looked an easy, simple take for Shamal George at the edge of his own box, but Obalai got between he and the ball and headed it away, and almost put his team, in fact he has put his team under pressure, because Celtic now have a throw-in level with 18-yard line, bowled into the box to Lucas, chaperones it back to Shamal George, and it stays Livy 0, Celtic 0.
Why the defender does that?
I know, but I know I've got earphones on and that, but I would be expecting to hear the goalkeeper really shouting, because he didn't see him coming. But,
you don't think so? I mean, I agree with you, the goalkeeper's got to shout, but surely Obalai sees his goalkeeper right there with him.
Oh, there's a chance for Anderson up the other end. He shoots. Hart makes the save. It's still alive. Pittman's there, and it's swept off the line by Callum McGregor. Livingston with the best chance of the game so far as it goes out for a Livy throw-in level with the Celtic 18 on this near side.
Really good chance, wasn't it? Liam Scales got caught, miskicked, I think, didn't clear his lines, allowed Anderson in and shot across the goalkeeper. Good save from Joe Hart, low down to his left-hand side, and he'd be delighted to get his hands on or make that save, but it was a big chance for Livingston.
Best chance of the game. You know, it's not complicated football, but it can be very effective, and it almost was 1-0 there to Livy. For me, Bruce Anderson's he's a very, very good striker of the ball. You know, invariably when he gets into the penalty box, he hits target and he makes goalkeepers work. And Joe Hart had to be bright there and not only make the save, but also make sure that he wasn't palming it into the middle of the goal. And fortunately, as he palmed it out, his defence were in there to make the block.
It just wouldn't sit for Scott Pittman on the rebound. It looked as though he was going to be in. In fact, he kind of scuffed the effort at goal on the rebound, and it was cleared by McGregor on the line. It was a fairly simple clearance for McGregor in the end, up as Maida picks up the other end to the left-hand side. Taylor, low ball back, the dummy from Hatate. Here's Johnston to O'Reilly. Kyogo holding off Penrice, turns, plays it across, and George dives down onto the right-hand side to deny. Dives in, Maida in behind him with a tap-in.
Yeah, it's a similar almost saving, a little bit further out, of course, that Joe Hart had from Samuel George, and he had to do it. I thought he was going to let it go initially, because it was almost screaming across his 6-yard box, but I think in the last minute he realised that Maeda was in the tap in, and he had to get a decent hand to it. And again, similar, he's got away with it because he's palmed it out, and his defender was there to clear.
Up the other end there, as this game bursts into life, Joe Hart coming right to the edge of his box to get onto a long ball which was dropping into an uncomfortable position for Liam Scales, with Bruce Anderson lingering, and Livy have a throw-in level with the Celtic penalty spot over on that right-hand side. Jamie Brandon over at goalless, almost 12 minutes in at Ammanvale. Bowled back by Brandon to Shinnie, the match winner here 2 years ago. Right-footed, cross ball in, comes off Obalai's head, it goes towards goal, and Joe Hart clutches on from underneath his crossbar. Obalai didn't seem to know too much about that, came off as it didn't even look at where the ball was going. It ended up being on target, heading towards the underside of the bar. It's a comfortable take for Hart though, as Celtic come forward, Hatate goes down, penalty to Lucas with the foul on Rio Hatate. Livingston had the best chance a couple of moments ago, but DeLucas gives away the penalty. He's been yellow carded, and Celtic have the chance for the lead.
And Liam, it comes from Greg Taylor again. You know, I said before, the positions he's taken up, he's finding great space and causing Livingston real problems, not just in his own half building the game, but here on the edge of the box. He was there before when he played a little pass through to Kyogo that hit his hand, and on this occasion a lovely slide rule pass into Hatate, and the defender DeLucas in the wrong position. It's a clear-cut penalty all day long.
Celtic have been awarded 2 penalties before today. They've scored both of them. Turnbull took those 2. Hatate then with a chance for his first goal of the season up against George. Hatate waits for the signal from the referee. John Beaton blows the whistle and Hatate is ready to go. Chance here then. Hatate right-footed through the goalkeeper and in, right down the middle. And Hatate gives Celtic the lead here in West Lothian. Not the best penalty he'll ever score, but he's not caring right now because he's off the mark for the season, and Celtic are off the mark for the afternoon as they look to put a bit of daylight between themselves and the rest at the top of the top flight. Livingston 0, Celtic 1.
Yeah, Taddy goes with almost his side foot penalty. Goalkeeper read it really well. In fact, he goes too far into the corner and it slips under that gap between his body and his elbow into the back of it. Maybe the pace just, outfoxed him a little bit, but he probably, looking back on it, he'll say, I should have saved that one.
I'd want to see it again, Packy, but I agree with you. It's in that difficult position. It's nowhere near the corner, it's not down the middle, but it's just in that area where, as a goalkeeper, as you said, it's difficult to get down to, and with the pace is what's managed to get it under him.
Yeah,
but I think you're right, and I would like to see it again. And I think if the goalkeeper, Shamal George, sees it, I think he'll be looking at going, should have done better.
Sometimes you just got to keep your eye on the ball. Sometimes you dive for the sake of diving. You know where you want to go to, right in the corner, and then the ball kind of almost a little bit straighter.
Here comes Maida. Celtic looking for a second immediately, and Maida wins the corner off the defender. He comes bouncing back off Jamie Brandon. Celtic turning the screw all of a sudden here.
Well, if Livingston don't get a hold of Greg Taylor, that's it. That is the key to this game so far. It's how Celtic are building the game, it's how they're getting into the final third, and ultimately it's how they're freeing up other players. Greg Taylor.
It's a short corner. Forrest takes over into a central area now, just outside the D of the Livy penalty area. Flicks it to his right here. Scales tried to reverse it. It's blocked by DeLucas. Breaks back Forrest ways. DeLucas stopped looking for some kind of free kick there, just in the edge of the area. Celtic play on. Taylor finds Scales, having to come back to square one here. Liam Scales switching it to Hatate midway inside the Livingston half. Gets it back from O'Reilly. O'Reilly too gets it back, sliding in his Sangare, and Livingston able to get it away. They've been under the cost the last few minutes. They are behind to that Hatate penalty.
Well, you can see Celtic are enjoying their football as well. Bright, good interchange, quick 1 and 2 touch football, and Livingston are finding it difficult to get a grips with them.
Yeah, I've got to say Celtic are nipping the ball around well on this surface. It hasn't dried out the way that I thought it might do with that little bit of water, so maybe David Martindale is regretting putting the water on the pitch.
Chip ball by Taylor down the left for Maida. Brandon gets there to get it back to his keeper, and George sweeps it forward first time with the right foot. Taken down beautifully by Newbley in the centre circle. Rolling it out wide left for Penrice. Can take on Johnston. Penrice checks though, turns back the way under pressure. Finds Sangare, who goes down. The ball was out of place, is Brendan Rodgers, but it's going to be out of play for a Livingston throw-in.
Yeah, just going back to the penalty and going back to the build-up for the penalty. Obviously with two centre-halves, and I did say it, not alone have you have to take care of Kyogo, you've got to then look at the runners coming from midfield, and Lucas got caught with that run from Hatate down on the wrong side, and he goes into a tackle then. He didn't have to tackle. He could have just gone with his body and just forced him out into an area.
Because as much as he'd been caught in the wrong position, he was in physical contact with Hatate, and I felt like, as you just said there, Packy, he could have tried to usher and manoeuvre him away from goal. He didn't have to. To me, it was he panicked. He knew that he'd been caught, but I don't think it was game over in terms of Hatate was going to get an instant goal or a strike away. I felt like he would have an opportunity to get his body in the way rather than try to dangle a leg and give a penalty away.
There's Maida, left hand side of the box, but he's offside, and it will be a free kick to Livingston. Davy Martindale will have to take stock of things just now, because in Celtic and in this mood they can score 2-3 goals and put the game to bed. It's almost 18 minutes old and they lead by 1-0 thanks to that Hatate penalty.
Well, what's happening is Hatate is, you know, he's getting forward well, like he has for the goal, and midfield up in support, and it's just occupying Jason Holt, which is where that hole that Greg Taylor is stepping into all game. And David Martindale's going to have to, you know, get the message across, whether it's going to be more that Shinnie is the central of their midfield three, has to look at Hatate's run.
Oh, brilliant from Newbley, just bounces Johnston off him, but really good recovery by Lagerbielke to help out the Canadian, and out it goes for a throw-in on this near side. I mean, there's no contest there. Alistair Johnston's a strong boy, but he's off second best against Newbley when they're shoulder charging each other. As it comes back to Shinnie from the Penrice throw-in. Now with Holt. And back to Obalai, long ball forward. It's Lagerbielke who'll take it down. Anderson pressing. And out it goes for a throw-in off Anderson for Celtic. Down in this near side. He'll not be giving up the ghost. Bruce Anderson's what he does. He harasses defenders, trying to force mistakes. It's a poor clearance by Celtic. It's headed back into the box by St Gary. Eventually it's away to safety by Johnston. Holt trying to control, but it's picked up by McGregor. Now Taylor down the left for Maida. Just inside the Livingston half. Plays it into the centre circle for Hatate. The goal scorer back to Lagerbielke and then out to Forrest. Forrest in field. Hatate, first time for O'Reilly. Stabs it away from Holt. Finds Taylor. Taylor out wide left. Low ball for Maida. Maida looking for O'Reilly, and a little misunderstanding between the two of them, and they can't produce the execution it required, and it goes behind for the goal kick, and it will stay Livingston 0, Celtic 1 after 19 and a half.
Yeah, and Michael's right in how he describes it, the midfield. The problem they have is I think they're outnumbered a bit in the middle of the pitch, you know, they're obviously playing with the two kind of almost higher up there with Newbley and Anderson, and that in itself then forces them into maybe playing their four in the midfield. But how to construct that four is the key to come up against Celtic. But Celtic's movement is, you're right, is absolutely killing them.
Just one defeat for Livy this season. That was at Ibrox, where they return on Wednesday night in the quarter-finals of the League Cup. Busy midweek coming up after we're done today.
He's made that.
As Taylor finds McGregor.
Yeah, Liam, sorry, I think he has made that change just now. I think he's dropped Pittman back.
Yeah, he swapped Pittman and Sangari, but he's kept the same shape.
There's Taylor in space again, though. Holt trying to close him down this time. He does a better job, but given away by Sangari. Straight back to Taylor. Here's Johnston. Taylor wanted it down the right-hand side. The two full-backs combining over here, but it's with McGregor, who finds Hatate to Maida. First time to Forrest. And now Hatate. This is more like Celtic from last season than we're seeing today. Zipping the ball around. Look like they're in a hurry as Johnston collects on this near side. We saw it in flashes against Dundee last week in the league match as Johnston was in on the challenge. I think the referee's going to his card here. Yellow's coming out for Alistair Johnston.
Yeah,
there was left one on Penrice down here.
Yeah, there was two tackles there. One on Matt O'Reilly initially. That could have been a free kick. I don't think it was a big one. The second one then, Johnston just a little bit late on is it Penrice? Who is it? He got? Yeah, Penrice. So he goes into the referee's book.
It's a free kick for Livingston deep inside their own half here, as they try and find a route back onto terms. It's been a tough start to the league season for them. Just that one loss, as I say, but they've matches against 5, if you include today, 5 of last season's top 6. Emerged unbeaten against Aberdeen, Hibs and St Mirren. Won the one in the middle at Easter Road, as George prepares to take this free kick down in front of us. Bang level from where I'm sitting. As George goes long with the right foot, headed away by Lagerbielke. Obalai heads it forward. Lagerbielke heads clear. Hatate helping it on its way, but it's only to the benefit of Shinnie. It goes all the way back to George, the edge of his box. George surveys the pitch ahead of him and gets it all wrong with the long ball. It goes all the way through to his opposite number, Hart. He plays it out to Johnston on this near side. In front of his watching manager, hands in pockets. Brendan Rodgers to the right of his technical area, which is where he likes to take the matches in.
There's a classic moment there, just where Jason Holt, he does not know what to do. He's trying to pass Hatate on, and he's always just a couple of seconds late to closing down.
Yeah, Taylor's having a wonderful game. He's won it back off Holt, crosses in, headed away around about the penalty spot by Ovalai. Hatate pushing an infield to McGregor and back to Scales in the halfway line.
Celtic's movement is very, very good, though. It's not like it's one-dimensional. Every player is on the move. They're constantly creating space for their teammates. It's difficult to play against.
Forrest skipping in field, back to McGregor. Two stalwarts of the squad.
Yeah, sorry, Liam. I think that's the key, isn't it? You know, every single player is given opportunity for the player on the ball. 2-3 options to pass the ball.
Hatate out wide left of the Livy box for Taylor. Taylor, low ball into Forrest, finds Maida, great turn, and short saves from Maida's effort. Wonderful little pirouette by Daizen Maida. Left foot shot, saved by George. Celtic corner, and it remains 1-0 to the champions.
That's an incredibly good save from Shamal George. And I mean, you're just, when Maida turns on a sixpence there, you're just expecting the net to bulge, and what a goal that would have been from Celtic. The build-up, you know, I'm thinking it's come right from the other end. It's worked from one side to the other, into the box in such a tight area. 1-2. I mean, it'd have been a tremendous goal had it not been for the goalkeeper coming out with a top save.
Outswinging corner by O'Reilly into the box is flicked away, not once but twice. Penrice with the second header. He comes out of the box onto this near side for Hatate. Shows too much of it to Shinnie, though. Shinnie wins it back for Livingston. His back heel is picked up, though, by Maida as he tried to find Pittman. A bundle of energy is Maida.
You know, I saw before the game, Liam, about mentality. Celtic have got a really positive mentality. They've got that goal, obviously, but as Michael talked about, moving, but their work rate also when they lose the ball.
It's a good run there. Gary was in on Scales now, trying to right-hand side for Brandon. He shoots, blocked by Lagerbielke. Sangari's come off worst in the challenge just before that as he went in on Scales, and a millisecond later, and that could have been a bad challenge.
I didn't. I thought it was the other way around.
I thought it was the other way around as well.
Liam Scales.
That's incredible. I mean, look, I may be proved wrong watching a replay, but to me, it looked. I winced thinking that Liam Scales had really hurt his leg.
Yeah.
It looked like Sangari had lunged into the challenge.
Yeah, I would really love to see that. He's saying it himself, Liam Scales, about the challenge. You know, Liam obviously dragged his leg away and may have caught him on that basis, but certainly I would love to hear Leanne's situation on that one.
Well, it's going to be an uncontested drop ball, and it's back with Joe Hart. Let's have a word with Leanne Crichton, who's watching this in the studio. Leanne, what have you made of it, and what did you make of that challenge?
Yeah, I would agree with the guys, Liam. I would need to say Sangari does get the touch on the ball, but he almost is anticipating contact from Scales. It just doesn't arrive, and he's the one that lunges into Scales and comes off worse from it. Really harsh on Liam Scales to pick up a yellow card for it, and this far in the game, Celtic, Packy and Michael have mentioned, moving the ball really well. It's a tough afternoon so far for Livingston.
Thoughts on the penalty, Leanne?
Stonewaller, yeah, absolutely Stonewaller. Completely wrong side, no need to lunge in. Probably could have get himself back in to make some sort of recovering movement, whether it was just a later challenge or a block shot, whatever it might have been, but no, really rash.
Sports Sound here in BBC Radio Scotland on Extra, 810 medium wave on digital and online at bbc.co.uk/sportscotland. Livingston 0, Celtic 1. Later at 3 o'clock in the Premiership, Dundee Kilmarnock. That's Docherty against McInnes for the first time. Hibernian St Johnstone, St Mirren Hearts. And then in the Championship, Airdrie, Raith Rovers, Dunfermline, Morton, Cali Thistle, Dundee United, Partick Thistle, Arbroath. And after Ayr United's 5-2 win at Queen's Park last night. Long ball, Penrice looking for Sangari, who clashes with Hart at the edge of the box. Out comes the card, and it's a red one as well. It's going to be a red card here. Sangari driving forward. The two players are poleaxed. Joe Hart and Sangari both on the deck.
Joe Hart's getting sent off.
Again, I'd love to see that one.
But I think Joe Hart,
He's outside the box.
Sangari got to the ball first.
Yeah, but I think Joe Hart went to kind of almost play the ball. The ball bounced up high, went to play
But
it.
he didn't get it, he's off.
Joe Hart sent off here
Wow.
at Amon Vale. That could be a huge game-changing moment. He
Wow.
came racing to the edge of his box because it looped over the defender. Sangari was driving down on the Celtic box. Hearts wiped him out. He was just that bit later, and he has been ordered off. Clearly the VAR is going to be watching replays.
My take on that, Liam, is that the ball's checked high. He's come out and he's tried to volley the ball away side foot. Sangari's gone in, foot high, and obviously he gets to the ball. But if I was the goalkeeper also, if that was inside the box and I went to go with my hands, for example, and that foot was high, I would be absolutely asking for a free kick from the referee.
Leanne's seen replays. Let's go to Leanne.
Yeah, if I'd a look at it back, Liam, I think it's the correct decision, if I'm being honest. Sangari's got every right to go for the ball.
Was his foot high, Leanne? Sorry.
He's high, but he's played the ball packy. Joe Hart's come out at probably at the same height. He gets the first contact in the ball. Joe Hart doesn't play the ball. For me, it's denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and I think that's why the goalkeeper sees red. I'm going to look at it again. No, his foot's not any higher, Packy, than reasonable height to play the ball, and he's no studs are showing. He kind of toe pokes at it, gets the ball under control. I'd be very, very surprised if the VAR team look at this and see anything different and ask John Beaton to have a second look at it. I think he's got it spot on.
Okay, fine, I'll go with that. You're watching it on TV and that, but it just looked to me as if both are going for it, and his foot was quite high, both of them.
But for me, that's my instinct was he was getting sent off. He didn't get a touch on the ball.
Red card confirmed, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't get a touch on the ball, and if your only defence is that both feet were high, well, that's not a defence really, because Sangari got the ball.
Right. And in saying that, the ball played through, there was a gaping hole there from Celtic's perspective, and that shouldn't have happened for a midfield runner going in there.
That's happened a couple of times. You know, as much as Celtic have dominated the game, there's been a couple of occasions where that ball over the top has not been dealt with. You think of the Bruce Anderson strike on goal that Joe Hart had to make a good save from. And there's been a couple other moments where Livingston have been able to get at the back line with just one straight ball.
Scott Bain has come on to keep goal for Celtic, and they've sacrificed James Forrest. So Scott Bain, who's only played 5 times in the last 2 seasons, comes on, and it's a Livingston free kick after all is said and done with that. Right on the 18-yard line. It's to the left of the D, and Andrew Shinney's eyeing this one up. He's eyeing the Celtic goal up here.
Yeah, big moment for Scott Bain to face a free kick. I'm just looking at his positioning. He's shown a lot on that right-hand side.
Half an hour in. It's Penrice. He tries to bend it into the bottom left, but he can only find the side net. Trying to outfox the man who's just on, but it goes past. So now, 30 minutes, almost 31 on the clock. It's 10-man Celtic who lead against Livingston by 1-0. Celtic having 2 players ordered off during the week as well in the Champions League, as Kyogo comes forward into the Livingston box, pulls it back looking for Maida. Livingston trying to get this away. They're in the game here, Livy, but if they concede another one, it's going to be a long road back, even up against 10 men, given who they're up against today.
Yeah, well, Celtic, I'll continue, I think, with their back 4, and they'll continue with Greg Taylor stepping in there, where now they'll play maybe a lopsided, maybe no right winger, and just go with it in that way. Maeda will join a little bit more what Kyogo.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether it's not even so much lopsided, they're just going to narrow Maeda off as well.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 2 fullbacks that can get forward and give you the width, and I think perhaps it will be a case of Kyogo and Maeda as a front 2 rather than the front 3 that they had, and everything else remains the same.
I heard Davy Martindale referencing the red card received by Ryan Christie in Celtic colours here when Livingston went on to win that match a few years ago.
This is where, you know, Livy needs to exploit the free man now, and down the sides is going to be the area that they can actually get at Celtic.
Scales heads it away. Here's Pittman, pushing header for Holt. Holt and now Newbley. Out to this near side for Penrice. Now back to Joel Newbley, little scooped ball. Sangari gets chased, he's in the area. Left-hand side, decides to take a touch. He's now down at the byline. Scales comes to meet him. Sangari rolls it out wide left to the penalty area for Newbley. Drops the shoulder, he's on the right foot. He shoots over the bar, and it stays Livy 0. 10-man Celtic 1.
Again, run, Michael, isn't it?
Again,
Sangari.
Just too easy. You know, it's a great ball from Newbley. Don't take anything away from him. But that's too easy defensively, that a ball like that is taking the whole defence out. And had Sangari just been a little bit brighter, he could have and should have been getting a strike away on goal.
Maida giving it away straight to Shinnie. Celtic racked with doubt now all of a sudden, after what had been an excellent performance up to that point. Penrice gets it back from Newbley, fires it into the box, but it's straight to Bain. His manager left frustrated, bouncing around down in his technical area.
Is that racked with gout or doubt? I wasn't quite sure what you'd said.
I did doubt,
oh, right,
Michael,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, well, gout, they might not be able to move particularly well. Yeah.
No, especially on that surface. Here's Johnston, back to Lagerbielke.
Yes,
and then Scales. There needs to be some kind of measure of calm about Celtic now, even if it's Packies to manage the rest of this first half and getting at the break.
Absolutely, do you just got to keep doing what they were doing early on, passing that ball. They may not get the same opportunity to go and attack Livy, but they've got to keep the ball, make Livy work from that perspective. But then going back to the run from Sangari again, it's exactly the same run as that Joe Hart got sent off from an inside sort of almost left midfield position in behind Lagerbielke, and he's got to be able to see that, or a midfielder's going to track it. Yeah, and then he's got to see it or communicate with his midfielder to track him if he's gone tight with Newbley. But certainly Newbley was more in midfield that time, so he's got to see it.
Celtic had a free kick there. It was coming harmlessly through to the goalkeeper, but this time it's to Lucas, who got in the way and put it out for a throw-in. So Celtic keep the pressure on. O'Reilly, Pittman with the touch back to George, who boots it away first time with the right foot. And there's a trip by Anderson on Lagerbielke, but it's an innocuous one. Celtic fans are going to be screaming for cards left, right and centre with every single Livingston foul now. After the red card, the feeling injustice was done there, as Hatate, the goal scorer, rolls it to O'Reilly, holding off Pittman. Strong play by O'Reilly, rolls it to the left. 10 from half-time, plus stoppages. 1-0 Celtic, who are on the attack here. Hatate for O'Reilly. His cross cut out by Holt and out for a Celtic throw-in. Level with the Livingston 6-yard line on the Celtic left, as they try and attack the goal to the right.
Well, in one way it might help Celtic when they are building up and attacking, that Maeda and Kyogo is in almost in the boxes, two attacking type players, so two options for Celtic to pick them out if they get into those good areas.
Challenged by Brandon on the far side. He's actually had a pretty good game, Jamie Brandon, on that right hand side. Not much he can do about this swashbuckling Greg Taylor as he keeps cutting in field away from Jason Holt as the throw-in's taken down the far side for Hatate. Finds Maida, who goes down. Free kick Celtic, level with the Livingston penalty spot as they look for a second. And this is an opportunity for them to try and conjure something up. Scales and Lagerbielke making their way into the penalty area, and Matt O'Reilly is the conspirator over on the far side. Scales waiting to the right of the penalty spot. Lagerbielke there too, so too's Johnston. They've left Callum McGregor and Greg Taylor back. Everyone else in or around the penalty area in Celtic colours. O'Reilly stands and waits. They look to double their lead here. More of a hole than they were now, down to 10 men as the free kick comes in, and Ovalai wasn't convincing as a poor first touch, but with the second he's able to clear. He was fortunate he had time to do that. Callum McGregor goes all the way back to Bain. Bain will play it short to Taylor, and it's squared out to the left for McGregor. It's a runner ahead of him in O'Reilly. He's just gone into an offside position. McGregor has it.
He's done very well there, I tell you, because as he's been closed down, all his options disappeared on 2 occasions. But Cal McGregor's just got such good close control he was able to just manipulate the ball and retain possession.
Lagerbielke out to the left-hand side for Taylor. It's level with the edge of the centre circle over on that far side. Back to Scales towards his own box for Lagerbielke, who finds Johnston at close quarters, presses the ball forward to Hatate, looks up long, ball forward, but Brandon with the cushion header to hold.
That was poor from Hatate. He picked that ball up in acres of space in midfield because the team had done really well to create that space, and he's just turned over possession when he didn't need to. He needed to drive forward and then start committing a few more of the Livingston players, and then you could start to make another few passes. Livy had a lot of players back in that back line. He didn't need to and shouldn't have been looking to try to play what was a bit of a lottery ball for Maeda anyway.
38 on the clock. Celtic leading 1-0, but down to 10 men after Joe Hart's ordering off. Here's Holt, rolls it along the deck, out to Penrice on the near side, forward to Newbley. Newbley holding off Johnston, looking for an option in yellow. Shifts to the right of the circle for De Lucas, across halfway he goes. Now to Brandon over on that far side. Low ball infield to Pittman, back it comes to Brandon, and onto the halfway line for Shinnie. And he plays it to the left of the centre circle for Obalai, to Penrice, now Newbley. Newbley driving down the left. Lagerbielke with a challenge and out for a throw-in on this near side, although the flag's gone up over there, so it will be a free kick to Celtic for offside.
Yeah, listen, Liam, I was just looking at Lagerbielke's positioning there. When the ball's over on the almost on Livingston's right hand side, he's too close to Liam Scales. His body's closed off. He doesn't see the run from both Newbley and the midfielder, and he's kind of almost getting caught. He just needs to open his body up a little bit.
Maeda short out to Hatate, was out of play, throw in Celtic over on that far side. Maeda takes it quickly, finds Taylor, and Taylor rolls it back to Scales. And obviously, given they've been reduced in numbers, the pace and power and poise of the Celtic performance in the opening 30 minutes has dissipated, but he's still remain in control of this match. McGregor on a great ball, looking for Maeda, it was straight to Brandon in the centre circle. He goes back to Obalai and back to George. First time, long with the right foot into the Celtic half. Lagerbielke's header, looking for Hatate, who gets there ahead of Brandon and helps it on its way out to that far side for Taylor, who finds McGregor to Kyogo. And now Hatate. Kyogo's made his run, he's on his bike down that left-hand side of the Livy box. He has it now, De Lucas with the challenge. It's better from the big defender this time as he sees it behind for the goal kick, and it stays Livy 0, Celtic 1.
Yeah, much better. That's what he should have did the last time also for the penalty. Again, he got caught a little bit because of the movement of Kyogo, and he was in on that left-hand side, but just usher him out. Don't allow him to get a shot away. Don't dive in.
Chanel charge over this goal kick. Livy keeper on with the right foot out to this near side. Lagerbielke beats Sangari in the jump, but it breaks Obalai's way. First time just hoofing it pretty aimlessly forward there, and comes all the way through to Scott Bain. How difficult is that, Packy? I mean, you were always first choice, to be fair, weren't you? Just about. There might have been a little spell when, was it Stuart Kerr came in the first team, but generally you were the first choice, so you probably don't have the experience of this. But when you haven't been playing as a goalkeeper, how difficult is it? Because his appearance last season at Easter Road, obviously Celtic lost, title was well won by then. How difficult is it?
He's an experienced goalkeeper. Listen, it's about preparation, not on the day of the match, but during the week. He will train hard, there's no doubt about it. Obviously you're out of the team. I don't know where players play now when they're not in the team. You know, did they get a game? Would he have played any matches in the B team or anything of that nature? I doubt it. But you have to train well, and you have to train in reality, not just, you know, the corner kicking balls at you. You've got to play in games, you've got to play in practice matches, whatever it takes to get yourself right. But you have to be ready for the big moment. That's why you're getting paid money, that's why you're on the bench, and you've got to pull out. There's no doubt he'd be very, very good with his feet, he still is, but it's making the big saves that Joe Hart comes up with every so often that is crucial in playing in a Celtic team. You've got to do both.
Be facing Motherwell as well next week. That's Celtic's next game. It's a lunchtime kickoff as well next Saturday. A tough assignment as Penrice picks up, clips it forward. Lagerbielke beaten to it by Anderson, hits it under the chest, chasing it down. Lagerbielke reacts and puts it out for a Livingston throw-in level with the Celtic 18-yard line on this main stand side as Livy attack the goal to our left. Final 2.5 minutes of the regulation 45, but there will clearly be a few added on afterwards. There was the penalty, there was the red card, there's been a couple of knocks. The thrown into the box is cleared by Lagerbielke, and then Scales helps it away. Sangare was in the middle as Obolai shoots from distance, and Scott Bain makes a relatively comfortable save down low to his right. He holds on to it as well, and even though it's a comfortable save, he'll be delighted with that packet.
Yeah, and that's what he wanted, isn't it? You know, you've come on the pitch, you've been on there for a little while, but he hasn't very little to do, and just making that save, get his hands on the ball, getting the flight of the ball, getting the bounce off the pitch, all those things matter.
Pittman wide on the right for Livy as they continue to attack the Celtic box here. Brandon to Holt, right foot cross comes in, it's easily away though by O'Reilly. Breaks back out to Brandon. It's a better ball, and it comes. Sangare attacking it. Bain comes to try and claim, and he does it the second attempt. Sangare's on the deck again. 3 times he's been injured in this first half. This time it's a head knock, and it remains Livy 0, 10-man Celtic 1.
Lagerbielke is claiming offside, but for me, he's just caught by surprise, and he really shouldn't. You know, as that ball's coming in, I'm not convinced that Sangare is offside. What I think is, he just makes the run and Lagerbielke doesn't see it, and he really has to, and he's got no physical presence there to even block any potential run that's coming in. He gets caught the wrong side, inside the 6-yard box. That should never have been happening there.
It's all about his body position. It's all about that. He's got a closed body position when the ball's over on the right-hand side, and that's caused him all sorts of problems. Get your body open up, know where the player is, then you can react.
Well, he's got away with that one, hasn't he? As George, up the other end, clips it out to Shinnie on this near side. We're well into the final of the 45. Obolai here, that long-range strike a minute or so ago. Newbley flicks on, here's Anderson. Scales defends well, though. Held his position, deals with it excellently. There's Lagerbielke getting it from Johnston. Now Taylor, first time to McGregor. McGregor then moving into space. Long looking for Kyogo down this right-hand side. The pitch helps him as the bounce aids Kyogo. He's got under control now. Right-hand side of the box. Pulls it back onto the 18-yard line. O'Reilly strikes. Blocked by Shinnie. 4 minutes being added. We're into the first of them here at Ammanvale at the end of the first half. Celtic leading, but down to 10 men. 1-0 the scoreline. Hatate finds Scales. Now Brendan Rodgers would love to see his team score again before half-time, because it doesn't matter how good a team you are, doesn't matter if you're champions, the fact you're down to 10 men, you feel that your opponents will get a big opportunity at some point. They could put a bit of daylight on the scoreboard, that would aid their cause to go 5 clear before the 3 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah, I think Sangare's struggling a little, but he keeps pointing to his chest. He stopped a few times, obviously when the ball's away from him, and it could, maybe it's his breathing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a few incidents that have left him spark out, including the one that led to the red card. George clips it out to that right-hand side for Brandon. Turns away from Maida and plays it short to Jason Holt. Experienced campaigner, he's wearing the skipper's armband in the absence of Michael Devlin. Came off against Ross County last week in that draw in Dingwall. Long from Penrice, down this left-hand side for Newbley. Just bobbles off his knee and behind for a goal kick to Celtic, to the delight of the Celtic supporters behind the goal off to our left. But he's been a handful again, hasn't he, Joel Newbley, Mikey, when he's been in a position to do some damage. It's generally been out on this near side. Probably like him to be doing some more in the penalty area, but he's been a handful for Alistair Johnston.
Yeah, that inside left channel is where he likes to do some damage, and yep, he's a big strong laddie who causes defenders problems.
There's Hope, left-hand side of the box, crosses in, almost came Pittman's way. Taylor gets there first to scoop it clear. O'Reilly's put it back into his own box. Here's Pittman, tries to pull it back. It's blocked by Liam Scales. He didn't know much about it. He's bouncing off his back, and it breaks the way of Taylor, who finds Maida. It's a little nervy moment for Matt O'Reilly. He's got his hands up in apology as he sliced it back towards his own goal. No damage done for Celtic though, or from O'Reilly, who picks it up and finds Hatate. Shielding the ball from Pittman, looking to slip it through to Kyogo, but it's blocked, and Jason Holt picks up for Livy and turns it out to Newbley on this near side, up against Johnston again, who slides in and puts it out for a throw-in to the home team as he draws some applause from his manager. And it's it turned out to be a more stressful afternoon for Brendan Rodgers than he's expecting, with half an hour on the clock, and this one his team arguably playing the best they've played all season in the league, still in its relative infancy.
Yeah, stressful because you're down to 10 men, but I think they still are kind of in control of the game at times. Not as much as they were before the sending off, but I think you feel decently comfortable.
One or two dodgy moments at the back.
Yeah, well, that's always an issue, I think, with the Celtic team.
And actually the Joe Hart challenge is right in the 18-yard line. I mean, that could have so easily have been a penalty.
I think he would have caught it if it was inside the box, though. He would have went with his hands, eh? I think so. I think it was high enough.
It's on the 18-yard line. Yeah. As Pittman plays it back to Brandon. Brandon's lost out. Here's Maida driving forward, rides the challenge of Holt. It's behind Kyogo though, and it breaks away of Penrice. Still so dangerous, the Celtic team, when they're in attacking positions. Newbley back to Penrice, looks to nick it through to Sangare. It's blocked by McGregor, who goes back to Bain.
I mean, they are dangerous, there's no question of that, but the fluency is not anywhere near the same since they've been down to 10 men. They've been a lot more wasteful.
Here's the half-time whistle from John Beaton. And Brendan Rodgers perhaps will be happy to get his charges in at the break, just get around them and discuss the tactics for the second half, which they will start with 10 men, but they've survived since the Joe Hart ordering off. Scott Bain made a save from Obalai. There's a couple of dodgy moments from Celtic players in and around their own penalty area, most notably Gustav Lagerbielke, who's had a problematic start to his Celtic career. But it is the champions who have the lead here, and it was a Rio Hatate penalty, his first goal of the season on 14 minutes. He won it himself, brought down by DeLucas in the box. Stonewaller, we believe, or those who've seen replays of it have said, and Hatate put it almost down the middle underneath Shamal George into the net to give Celtic the lead. They were in complete and utter control. Bruce Anderson at 0-0 did have a shot saved. It fell to Pittman on the rebound. He couldn't get it dug out from under his feet though. And up the other end, Dyson Maida, after a wonderful turn, produced a wonderful save from Shamal George. That before the Joe Hart ordering off for clattering into Sangare at the edge of his own box. Free kick was given. John Beaton produced a red card, and his decision survived the VAR review as well. So Celtic in the lead, in relative control, but with a lot of work to do if they're to pick up the 3 points here in West Lothian this afternoon. But at half-time, it's Livingston 0, 10-man Celtic 1.
The Scottish Premiership.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
So Celtic ahead at the Tony Macaroni Stadium. Just looking at the match stats, Celtic 65% possession, 7 shots from the home side, 4 for Celtic, 3 on target for Livy, 2 for Brendan Rodgers' team. Leanne Crichton is alongside me in the studio. No shortage of talking points in that one. Prior to the penalty, no doubt it was a penalty, Hatate tucked that away. Prior to that, actually, Joe Hart had denied Bruce Anderson. That was the first big chance of the game.
Yeah, no, there was early chance. Best chance of the game certainly came to Livingston. Celtic, after the penalty, up until that point, they'd started to motor some really good passages of play, more like their old selves that we're used to seeing. A lot more interchange, a lot more freedom from the players middle to front. Greg Taylor, the guys mentioned in commentary, very instrumental, very influential in terms of his play, his build-up play, the positions in the pitch that he was taking up. The build-up to the penalty itself was very good. Lovely play from Celtic for the right-hand side, working back in centrally, and actually looked as if they might go to the left-hand side, and it's a cutting ball through to Hatate. Great run, and DeLucas is caught wrong side. For me, it's a Stonewall penalty. I do think he could have probably made an adjustment and perhaps get another opportunity to clear it and block Hatate, but he brings him down and the penalty was awarded. And again then Celtic motored, continued to press. It looked like it could have been a long afternoon for Livingston, because we know when Celtic get that early goal, they more often than not go on and build on it, and they add a second and a third. The sending off completely changes the complexity of the game. Livingston on the odd occasion had looked for that same type of ball over the top to cause some problems, and Gary's movement had been very good, and Joe Hart just gets it all wrong. But I would need to say the communication, I think, between Joe Hart and Lagerbielke and that right hand side, and Alistair Johnson at times, is where Celtic have been found wanting, and it really has been a vulnerability.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So Scott Bain on, James Forrest making a rare start. He was sacrificed, of course. Pat Bonner, do you have concerns over some of the decision making from Joe Hart? I listened to a lot of programmes in the summer, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of the biggest themes from Celtic fans was that there needed to be another keeper brought in to really challenge Joe Hart.
No, I'm not worried about that. I think that particular instance, that the ball checked up a little bit on the surface. He's made the decision to try to help out his centre halves who were getting caught, especially Lagerbielke. That ball, that run from Sagari has been made 2 or 3 times. He's almost like as if he's not, his orientation's wrong at times. Even from that straight run on that same side from Sagari, he goes tight on. I don't even know if Joe Newbley is a threat to him, but he seems to get caught square, and that run goes in there. So Joe's just really trying to help him out in that occasion. It's just unfortunate it checks up for him. So I wouldn't put that down to really poor decision making. It's more down to just unfortunate situation that we see today. So no, listen, Joe's a very, very experienced man. What I was impressed with actually during the week, and I'm going to say this, yes, he held his hand up after the free kick in Europe. Maybe he's at that stage of his career that he can do that. He's built up enough credibility to be able to do that. Took the heat off maybe Kyogo, who probably could have had questions asked over him. I wouldn't have put Kyogo on the end of a wall anyway. I don't trust forwards to come back to as a critical position, and he broke away from the wall. But in saying that, Joe did qualify then that he had to wait for that ball to take its bounce on that pitch, and it bounced quite high for him, and he hadn't the momentum to get his both hands to keep it out properly. So, but what I'm saying is, from a leadership point of view, I think he held his hand up, and other goalkeepers may not do that. They would come up with excuses, and I probably did that many times myself when I was playing. And that, so no, I'm not gonna go with that one, that his decision making is gone. I think he comes up with really big saves at times. He made a great save early on in this game today against Bruce Anderson, but he doesn't get anything to do. The area where Joe has always struggled a little bit was with the ball with his feet, especially on the left hand side when you close him down. He's going to be under a bit of pressure with that, with the way that Celtic play, especially under Brendan Rodgers, a little bit more deeper inside the 6-yard box. That'll be something that will pan out during the season, especially in Europe, and we'll see how he manages it all. But no, listen, he's an important player for Celtic. They do need, I think, a young goalkeeper coming through the system. I don't see it. They've gone with Scott Bain today. They've got Seegers there. He doesn't seem to be pushing his way through to even become number 2. So that's a kind of a worry. And they've let go Hazard down. He's gone down to England. So I think that's an area where they should have probably a number 3 really pushing through now, a young guy. There was talk about Kelleher coming up from Liverpool. I don't know if Liverpool will let him go from that point of view, because he fits their bill, and that. But that would have been an ideal situation to see. Could he come in? And Joe Hart then might have to phase out and become a support player, a support goalkeeper to him. But at the moment, I think he's number 1.
We're watching that again. We're watching the incident again, Leanne. Yeah, no, if we're talking about decision making, it's a really poor decision from Joe Hart, because he gets it completely wrong, and he could only get it completely right because the speed that he comes out at, the height that he jumps at, and the fact that he's outside the box. So but
Leanne, sorry, do you not have to take into consideration the pitch and the way the ball? If it's a ball that's skipped, on the grass pitch,
I don't think it's much to. I know what you're saying, Packy. I don't think so though, because Joe Hart's coming out and he's not expecting it to skip through, nor is he expecting it to hold up. But actually, the touch from Singari is the skip that you're looking for. So and the angle of the box that St Gary's at, it's probably still going to need to take an awful lot to beat Joe Hart, even if he gets through and it's that near post type angle. In this instance, he gets it completely wrong.
Well, I mean, he gets it completely wrong because he doesn't get the ball. As you said earlier, when you're coming out, it's an all or nothing sort of incident. I get that, but I'm with Packy on this in regards to, if you imagine the goalkeeper stays, not in his line, but stays in his 6-yard box as the ball's played over the top and the defence don't deal with it, the attacker takes a touch and bangs it past them, you're going to be instinctively saying, why is the keeper not come out to deal with the ball? So for me, the biggest concern in that instant, and I agree with Packy, I've not seen the replay, and of course I can change my view looking at it, but watching this here just now, it's a momentary, not momentary, sorry, it is one split second away from being brilliant piece of play and a poor piece of play. And to me, I don't think you can be hypercritical about that. The thing that I would be looking at and being more critical of is the defensive setup that they've been caught at on 3 or 4 occasions with a simple ball over the top.
And it might be why, Michael, that Joe Hart has decided that in this instance he was going to come, because the one that Anderson gets in, it's the same type of ball,
yep,
and he manages to wriggle and get through. So maybe Joe Hart's thinking, I'm going to try and close that space between centre-back and myself, and he's then forced into that position. So yeah, it's probably an accumulation of bad decisions across the defensive backline that's led to that.
And the thing is as well, that the way that Joe Hart has played in this Celtic side, and it's expected of modern day goalkeepers, is that they have to come out and react to balls that are over the top. It's part of the game, and you've got to, it is high risk at times, especially when it's in those sorts of areas, and he's paid the price for it, big time today. And I do, again, having not seen the replay, I do again agree with Packy on the fact that this surface, we all know when you play on AstroTurf surfaces, the ball doesn't bounce the same as on grass, and it does at times check off the surface.
So that shouldn't come into your decision making.
But
you're not playing it every week, though, Kenny. That's the problem. You don't train on it every week, and that is the point about these pitches. It gives the advantage to the opposition. There's no question about that, and that's the big difference, and that's why I don't agree with those. I think it should be the same for all games.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very fair point, Leanne. Even just watch it as a spectacle on the surface, it's not great.
No, not to be overly critical of the Tony Macaroni, but I've played on it, and I listened to Brendan Rodgers' comment before the game, and if you're going to have plastic pitches, it's got to be high end.
Yeah.
For me, it's not high end. It's not good. The ball doesn't move well on it. There's too much rubber. It's packed underneath. It's dry. I know the guy says it. I think it'd been watered earlier on. Is that right? But how long does the water really last in these pitches? It's quite a nice day, so it's not soaked. It's not like a grass pitch that holds it and it feels slick for the entirety of the game. So no, it does change it, and it changes the decision making. But I think it just comes down to the fact that Celtic, in terms of the back line and the changes and the relationship between Joe Hart and his 2 centre backs, there's not that same consistency, and there's not that same level of cover that they had last season.
Yeah, Leanne and Kenny, there is a problem with Lagerbielke in his body position. Even when the ball's over on that right hand side, I've watched him closely. He's almost closed off. He doesn't see the runner from midfield. He doesn't know where the centre or the centre forward is over his shoulder. It's almost, and that nearly led to another situation where they had a check. It could have been a penalty also. Remember the one with was Sangari, I think, got in. He didn't know where he was, and that's an experience. That's something that has to be dealt with. That's something that you have to take onto the training pitch. The coaching staff has got to pick up on it and talk to him and so on, because that is going to be a fault. If he doesn't get rid of it very, very quickly, opposition teams will exploit it, because they will do their own analysis and they will come.
What's key, Michael, for Livingston to get back into this game? Do you see them having a real threat in the second half?
Well, we've just been talking about the what you look at the vulnerability of that. I think for me, I think Scales has done pretty well over the piece. But Lagerbielke, you look and think that to me would be where, if you're David Martindale, you would say, let's look to try and play on that inside left channel for them on Lagerbielke. Quick balls over the top, because his body position at times just doesn't leave him conducive to being able to get back and recover quickly, and even when he does, he doesn't look physically strong to be able to then muscle out guys that are going through, whether it's Sangari or Nubli. Both of them are good, imposing players that That's, you know, key. Quick balls in and trying to turn Lagerbielke would be where I would be saying to Livingston, you've got to try and exploit.
And Kenny, could I add to that? I think if you're playing down the right hand side, get the ball in early to that back post.
Yes.
Because you've got Nubly coming in there, you've got Sangari getting in there. Scott Bain isn't the biggest. He's not going to be coming off his back post and grabbing balls. So that's what I would be saying. Get him in there early and test him out.
Going to be interesting the second half at Ammon Vale. Big second half, big 45 minutes for both sides there. Celtic with that narrow advantage, but down to 10 men. A reminder, open all mics this afternoon from 3 o'clock. We have reporters at 3 games in the top flight, all 4 matches in the Championship. And I will bring you the goal news from right across the country.
Last time in the Rugby World Cup.
Scotland in all sorts of trouble. Penalty to South Africa. Springboks in control now.
It is a defeat that we're up against. Perhaps the favourites to retain this trophy.
Yeah, and there's still 3 games to go to qualify from the group.
All the news from rugby's biggest stage.
The BBC Radio Scotland Rugby Podcast. Listen on BBC Sounds.
And Scotland versus Tonga. Tomorrow from 4.
Try again for Scotland.
Every tackle and every try lives here.
Scotland attack.
Listen on digital radio or ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Scotland Extra.
Yeah, good luck to Gregor Townsend and his players. They've got a really tough group, you'd have to say, at the Rugby World Cup. Full coverage on BBC Radio Scotland. Also lots of podcasts from Andy Burke and Tom English. So tune into these. Always worth a listen. I've had some terrific guests on there. So a reminder, open all mics from 3 o'clock, and from 5:30 the chance for you, the listener, to have your say. Lots of fans ready to engage, lots of talking points already, and plenty more to come throughout the afternoon on Sports. And let's get back to our commentary match. It kicked off at 12:30. Livingston 0, Celtic 1. Let's get back to Michael Stewart, Pat Bonner and Liam McLeod.
The Celtic have won their last 2 visits here, but they failed to win in their previous 5 to that. First league meeting between them is back in August 2001. Livy took a point in a 0-0 draw. Celtic go on to win each of the subsequent 20 between the clubs until a 0-0 here in November 18 under Brendan Rodgers at the time. As Celtic get the second half underway, going right to left in the green and white hoops. Livingston all in yellow with the black flashes, as that goes out of play for a throw into Livy on this near side. No changes for Livingston at the start of the second half. No further changes for Celtic, who were forced to take off James Forrest and replace him with Scott Bain in the wake of Joe Hart's red card, as it shifted out to that left-hand side for Livy, who have Shamal George in goal, Brandon DeLucas, Opalai, Penrice, Holt, Pittman, Sangari, Shinnie, Nubly, Anderson. For Celtic, Hart was sent off, replaced by Bain in that first half. Johnston, Lagerbielke, Scales and Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate, Maida and Kyogo are the 10 men. DeLucas is back to the edge of his box for Opalai. Livy then 1-0 down as the long ball forward finds Nubly, left-hand side of the Celtic box, holding off Johnston. Rolling Johnston, crossing into the box, just a bit too high for Pittman, and cleared by Celtic. Scales got in the way. That's good play by Livingston, and excellent from Joel Nubly out on that far side.
Well, you see when they had the ball there, they had a number of men right up on the back line of Celtic. Nubly, Sangari, Pittman and Bruce Anderson, and they're staying up there right now as well.
Yeah, Brandon, it's the cross ball in, and it's swept wide by Sangari. What a chance it was. He's rubbing his head as it came to him round about the penalty spot. He hit it first time, and it goes wide of that right-hand post. It will remain 1-0 to Celtic. But good signals of intent from Livingston for their supporters who surround us here in the main stand.
Yeah, it was a good run and cross, wasn't it, down this right-hand side, and Nubly, he just couldn't get his foot, proper connection on that ball. If he cut it properly, I think, again, it was a free shot, and they had the ability to get to the ball first before Lagerbielke.
We'll be aiming to make this second half as uncomfortable as possible for their visitors, as Taylor finds Hatate. Kyogo's away down that right-hand side. It's past to Johnston. Now he does find Kyogo. And he's attacking the right-hand side of the Livingston box. It's the cross, it's a good one! Maida saved, but O'Reilly's there! O'Reilly taps home to keep his good goal-scoring form going. And the 10 men double their lead at Ammon Vale. A big moment there for O'Reilly and for the
Brendan Rodgers couldn't have hoped for a better start to the second half. Getting their noses in front in the second half so quickly and doubling that lead. And it's interesting there because in that first half when they were down to 10 men, Kyogo never really drifted too wide. It was more Maeda from a central area going into wider areas, but this occasion the ball out to Alistair Johnson and Kyogo was right out in the wing, and he did really well. Dropped the shoulder, whipped the ball in really early behind the defence, and I'm amazed that Maeda didn't score. And I don't know, it's very difficult to see whether there was a block or whatever, but Matt O'Reilly on hand just to make sure that the ball was into the back of the net. It's a huge goal, and it just reasserts that dominance that Celtic have got in the score sheet. Maybe not in performance now, but on the score sheet when it really counts.
Yeah, I think Maeda will be so delighted that Matt O'Reilly was there to put that ball in the back of the net, because the Stonewaller and almost he miskicked it, didn't he? Good play, as you say, from Kyogo, drifting out wide and getting that cross into the box. But perfect, yeah. 2 goals, perfect start to the second half for Celtic.
4th goal of the season for Matt O'Reilly. Brendan Rodgers has made a point of demanding that he scores more, and he's answering his manager in the best possible way. And Celtic have a 2-0 lead here, and that's the insurance policy that Brendan Rodgers would have wanted his team to get early in the second half, and it's been provided by Matt O'Reilly. You saw David Martindale's reaction as soon as that goal went in. He turned round and started kicking out at fresh air. He was furious as Livy come forward. It's a snapshot from the edge of the box by Penrice, but it's a comfortable take for Scott Payne.
Yeah, well, Livingston have to respond now. They've got to get something back fairly quickly, because you know what Celtic are going to do now. They're going to try to dominate the ball. They'll pass, they'll move, they'll get back. Their confidence is high, and they'll be hoping to keep the chances for Livingston down to a minimum and not let them back into this game.
Yeah, Kyogo's part in that goal was huge as well, as he whipped it in from the right-hand side. Looked like the chance had gone when Maeda got himself in a fankle. Shamal George was there on the line, but there was Matt O'Reilly. He's getting into some really good goal-scoring positions. I was away to say he covers every blade of grass, but of course there's no grass here, as Brandon picks up wide on the right of the Celtic box. Back to Holt, forward to Sangari, level with the Celtic 6-yard line. Certainly need the next goal now, Livy. Holt to Brandon, gets it into the box. That's come off Pittman's hand, that one. Sangari then waits an eternity to decide what he's going to do. He eventually fouls Taylor, and he comes to nothing, though. I think it will be a... When it bounced back off Pittman, it wouldn't have counted had that had a more dramatic conclusion than it did.
I think Pittman could have just dummied that. Bruce Anderson was behind him, and I think doing...
Oh, Baines made a horrendous error. Newbley chips for goal, and it's over the bar. What is Scott Bain breathes a massive sigh of relief.
What's he doing?
He didn't see him.
But I'm sorry, but
I know that. I absolutely agree with you, Michael, but it looks to me as if he didn't see him. He's just waiting.
No, you're right. He mustn't have. But how in the life of me, I cannot understand how he can't see him.
No.
Because as much as you're looking straight at the park, you can see what's coming from the side.
But you can't take your time and delay.
And also, yeah, you don't have that much time.
No.
In the middle of the box when Livy are high up the park.
And you know, he's got away with it too, because
massively.
If Newbley had just side-foot that into the back, and he didn't have to go and chip it, he could have bent it round the defenders, put a bit of pace, and it was in the back of the net.
6'4", and he's wearing a bright yellow strip. There's Anderson with the cross, blocked by Scales, bounces back off Anderson, then McGregor finds Taylor. Celtic leading by 2-0 here early in the second half. And Matate's penalty in the first, and O'Reilly with the second early after half-time.
I'm sorry, Liam, what it does is it just gives the home side another lift. You know, you get your noses in front in the second half, dominating the score sheet 2-0 now. You know, the game's there to control. You do something like that, it just gives a little bit of impetus back to the home side that, look, there's still something in this for us. But what Celtic have done well, as much as there wasn't the same fluidity in the first half when they went down to 10 men and Livingston were better, they still did manage the game pretty well. And this is going to be key for them in the next couple of minutes here, is to reassert the dominance and not allow that impetus to build into momentum for Livingston in the second half here.
Even with 10 men, the champions can find a way. They've only lost 3 of the last 75 Premiership games coming into this. 2 of those were inconsequential defeats after the title was won last season. And Brendan Rodgers has only lost 8 of his 108 league matches in charge of Celtic in his second spell now. As O'Reilly rolls it down the right-hand side for Maida, but it's picked up by Obalai. And his clearance straight on to the chest of McGregor. So Livingston eventually win it back with Penrice going back to his keeper. Long ball from Shamal George. Anderson flicks it ahead of Scales, looking for Pittman, but it's won back by Hatate, who was being fouled by Pittman, and Celtic have a free kick in the centre circle. They're managing the situation really well, Celtic, apart from Scott Bain.
Yeah, but this is how Celtic play. They like, and today, let's face it, they have been moving well off the ball. They've been given a lot of options to each player. And Hatate is very, very good at that. He doesn't stick to a position. He moves himself all over, and that then creates problems for the opposition to pick him up, and the rest of the players react off it.
Here's Taylor. Low ball into the box for Hatate. Bends it towards the back post. Headed away by Pennis. A really poor header, though. Barely got it a yard ahead of him, but fortunately for him, it dropped to Pittman. It's back to Penrice, who wallops it up the pitch. Flicked on by Anderson, but Scales with the header back into Livy territory. Pittman heads it to halfway. Taylor's little cushion ball there to McGregor, who in turn goes back to Taylor on the halfway line. Left-footed ball to the edge of the centre circle for Lagerbielke. Looks as though Davy Martindale's going to make changes. Try and take more advantage of the extra man, but here's O'Reilly looking for Kyogo in the overlap, right-hand side of the box, down towards the byline. Rolls it back to Johnston, first time with the right foot. O'Reilly flicks up that long left leg, but he can only put it out to this near side, and it's cleared by Brandon, only as far as Taylor. Taylor stabs it back to Hatate, wide in the left, into the left-hand channel there for Taylor, who wins the corner off Pittman. Yeah, Livy 0, Celtic 2.
He's done well today, Taylor, hasn't he? You know, again, he loves that inside, almost right position, isn't he? Coming in from sort of his left back, getting into midfield. He probably plays as well as anybody in this league, you know, going into almost making an extra midfield player and working from there, rather than drifting wider and having to run the channel.
55 in the clock. Celtic corner, outswinger from O'Reilly into the box. Headed away by Obalai. Back out left for O'Reilly. Second attempt here. His cross doesn't beat the first defender, and it breaks Livingston's way. Newbley at the edge of the area. Back to Pittman, who tries to volley it clear. Celtic, though, pinning Livingston back. As Anderson wins a header and finds Holt, and now it's with Shinnie back to the edge of the box there for Ovalai, who with the right foot rolls it low out to the left-hand side for Penrice. Penrice infield to Holt, squares it to Shinnie. Side foots it out to Pittman on this near side. Livingston can't find a way through here against the 10 men. And well structured since Joe Hart's ordering off as the flag goes up and an offside against Sangare, and that's a free kick to Celtic inside their own box. It's taken short there, McGregor to Lagerbielke, and there's the 3 changes coming for Livy. Stephen Kelly will be joined by Bradley and Parks. Parks not fully fit, otherwise you would have thought he would have started given the paucity of options that Davy Martindale has at centre back today. Bain's long ball looking for Kyogo, one in the air by DeLucas. Pittman gets it into stride, driving forward, rolls over the outside of the boot. Anderson at the edge of the area, his shot takes a deflection and it comes right through to Bain. Comfortable take this time for the Celtic sub-keeper, and it stays Livingston 0, Celtic 2. And that goes out of play for a throw into Livy on this near side. Now they will be in a position to make the changes here at Amon Vale. So it's going to be Parks, Bradley and Stephen Kelly who'll come on. Pittman will come off, and so too will Sangare. So that's 2 of the 3. The third Livingston player who will be withdrawn, we will find out in due course. On comes Parks, and they're also going to take off their number 12, Jamie Brandon. Mikey.
I mean, it's a difficult task for Livingston now. 2-0 down. Celtic are in a rhythm in the second half as well. And I don't really see anything changing in regards to the the idea, I mean, obviously they're going to look to continue to get that ball over the top, as they have done here, as quickly as possible.
Foul by Newgley on Johnston. He's immediately checking for blood there from either his nose or his mouth as he went down. It's a Celtic free kick at the edge of their own box.
So I was just going to say that as much as nothing's going to change in how they're going to play, but the system, they're going to a back three, Livingston, but they're still going to be looking to get that ball forward as quickly as possible to really try and get that Celtic backline. But it's going to be difficult now because the team from Glasgow are well on the ascendancy.
Celtic in possession with Johnston over on the right-hand side, inside his own half. Long ball, looking for Kyogo. There comes Parks to win the header. First touch for him. Here's Holt. Back to Obalai. And just moves it to his left for Parks. Long ball from him, but Lagerbielke with a little cushion header to Johnston. And then to McGregor. Back to Lagerbielke. To Johnston. To McGregor. McGregor's had it nicked off and though by Stephen Kelly. Kelly looks up, rolls it to his right. Chance here for Shinnie. Out to the right-hand side of the box for Stephen Bradley. On the left foot, and they've overcooked it. He's looking for Shinnie, straight to O'Reilly, who can clear. O'Reilly just about picked out Kyogo. He's found him in the end. Kyogo has it on the right-hand side, driving infield. Leaves it for Hatate. Hatate gets there ahead of Stephen Kelly. He's found McGregor. He got away with that rare error a moment ago. Tomoki Iwata is going to be on for Celtic shortly. Here's McGregor. It comes off Bradley. He goes back to his keeper. A long ball from George up towards the halfway line. One in the air by Celtic. Is up into the sky again. Drops down off the head of Hatate. He finds O'Reilly back into the centre circle for Lagerbielke. Here's Kyogo. Taken off him by Shinnie though, and then the foul by Kyogo on Holt was something that the Japan international didn't know too much about, and accidentals. He apologises anyway. Free kick to Livingston. Change for Celtic. Hatate off, Pake being replaced by Iwata.
Yeah, I'm not surprised a little bit because he's just coming back from injury too, and he's worked hard, he's played well, and you can see him just flagging a little bit. Some of his passes going astray maybe a wee bit later on in this game, so I think that was going to happen from that perspective. So Iwata will sit in there, play in this position, be a more holding player. He won't have that same movement, so now Celtic will be trying again just to play this game out, make sure that Livingston doesn't get anything to put them under pressure late in this game. So he'll sit in McGregor. McGregor will push a little bit forward. A similar type of player, McGregor, of course, to Hatate. Maybe not just the same movement across the pitch, but certainly he can get on the ball and play.
Long ball from Obalai from halfway to the right-hand side of the box for Livy. Anderson does brilliantly, great touch, controls, passes out wide right for DeLucas. They attack the Celtic box, back to Holt. Holt then back to DeLucas wide in the right. McGregor's the covering Celtic player. DeLucas gets his cross in, headed away by Scales. It's now with Bradley. Bradley with a delicate ball in, but that'll be a comfortable take for Scott Bain, and it will stay Livingston 0, Celtic 2 here in Amon Vale. Davy Martindale hoping those changes will bring better fortune, but 61 on the clock. His team is 2 down. If you're up against 10 men, you'd feel you'd have a real chance of salvaging something out of the game, but it's the champions who are down to 10 as Kyogo wins the foul over on the wins the free kick over on the far side.
Yeah, I think it might have been clever from Kyogo, but it was a silly foul. It was from Parks, into the back of him, just taking the pressure off Celtic a little bit.
Scales inside his own box, turns away from Anderson, rolls it back to his keeper. Been saying it for the last few games, Liam Scales looks so assured in that position just now. He'll be most disappointed if when Mike Nawrocki comes back to full fitness that he loses his place in the team, assuming he continues this decent run of form that he's shown since coming into the side. He's grabbing his chance.
Yeah, I think you're right, Liam. I think he's been the better of the two centre halves, and all that I've witnessed anyway. I don't know, how did he do in Europe? Did he do okay in that position?
Oh, Newgley has lost out as it's picked up by O'Reilly, and suddenly Celtic have plenty forward. It's passed to McGregor, takes a touch and shoots. It's deflected away out to this near side. That was a chance for Celtic to make it 3 and switch the lights out on Livingston. It stays 2-0.
Oh My word, it was a wrong pass from O'Reilly. I don't know whether he heard Kyogo coming up on his right-hand side, just slip him and play it in front of him, and he takes it in. And with his ability, he had a far, far better opportunity to hit the target than McGregor, who was square of him on his left-hand side. Big chance for Celtic.
I mean, the pass to McGregor was back into where the Livy bodies were. If he slips it to Kyogo, he's on the blind side, he's down this and getting a free strike on goal. So much so that when it came into McGregor, O'Reilly continued his run down that channel where Kyogo was as well.
I don't think he's seen him then.
No, and when McGregor had the strike, he was throwing his arms up to say, you should have played us. He should have played it in the first instance to Kyogo.
Great chest there by Taylor back to his goalkeeper. It's played to McGregor. Greg Taylor's looked like the Greg Taylor under Ange Postecoglou for the last couple of seasons today.
Oh, he's played well, absolutely.
Left out of the last Scotland squad. I'm hoping his old Killie manager, Stevie Clark, gives them the chance in those games against Spain and France next month as Newbley slides in and puts it out for a Celtic throw-in on this near side. To answer your question about Liam Scales during the week, looked quite comfortable in the first half in Rotterdam. In the second half, when the red cards happened, the game completely changed. So it was difficult. It was a difficult evening from that point of view. But he certainly didn't look out of place in the first half, and Celtic played very well in the first half against Feyenoord. The late concession of the free kick just before half-time, in stoppage time in fact, did for them, and then Lagerbilke and Holm being ordered off in the second half ensured there was absolutely no way back for them. They'll host Lazio on Wednesday week on match day 2. Now they'd love to be preparing this coming midweek for a home tie against Hearts in the League Cup on Tuesday, but that's Kilmarnock who are doing that. Celtic beaten at Rugby Park in the last round, so their next match is Motherwell next Saturday. Livingston go to Rangers, which is their only defeat so far this season. So far, 2-0 down here as DeLucas drives forward into the Celtic box. His pullback's cut out though. Bradley back to Holt, now with Newbley, right angle of the box, bends it in on top of Bain, who for some reason elected to flick it behind for the corner.
And nearly flicked it into his own net. It was the wrong action. I think he should have been flicking it away from goal. He probably again didn't know if there was anybody coming in on that back stick. But he should have been communicating with him.
Barely sees any action, Scott Bain. You can forgive him for being out of tune. Stephen Kelly takes the corner. It's flipped away by McGregor. And as far as Parks gets it back out wide left for Holt. To Stephen Kelly, level with the Celtic penalty spot, drops the shoulder onto the right. The cross is poor. It's away by McGregor. Iwata will win the free kick, fouled by Shinnie, and a yellow card for Andrew Shinnie as well. He was the match winner in this fixture 2 years ago in Livy colours. Celtic take the free kick too quickly for John Beaton's liking. It is Livingston 0, 10-man Celtic 2.
A couple of poor crosses from Livingston into the box there, weren't they? You know, they were in good positions, plenty of bodies up. You know, the second phase off the corner and just didn't beat that first man.
They weren't great at coming from behind last season, Livingston. They went behind 22 times, only found an equaliser on 4 occasions. And they did come back to take a point at Ross County last weekend. Long ball goes over the head of the defender. Kyogo now has it into stride. It's an early ball. Maida can finish this now, but George is out to make the save. Smart goalkeeping. Just about keeps the Livingston heart beating this afternoon. It stays 2-0 Celtic. Looked all the way as though 3 was coming.
Great goalkeeping there from George. He made himself really big. Right in Dyson Maeda's face, making the block. Yep, that was almost, as you said, 3-0 and no way back for Livingston at that stage.
May well be no way back just now for Livy, but here they come again. Cross ball, looking for Bradley. It was over the head of Taylor. Bradley takes it down. He's inside the Celtic penalty area. Turns, he shoots, blocked by Taylor, cleared by Scales. Some of the decision-making from Livingston in the Celtic box today has been so poor. They've found themselves in good positions. They're either not quick enough or they're just not taking the opportunities when they come along.
Yeah, it's execution, isn't it? You know, they've got plenty of bodies in the box now, obviously, late in this game. You know, 3-4 players. But when it comes to the player who's about to deliver, the execution hasn't been good.
Chip ball down the right for Bradley. Scales with the challenge. Out the play it goes. Through in Livingston. Level with the Celtic 6-yard line. to try and plot a route back into this. Livingston are going to make their other 2 subs, and I wonder here in just a moment. First of all, though, it's a throw-in to the Lions down on this near side. DeLucas elects to, he was going to bowl it in, long thrown into the box. He's elected to go back to Oberlai near the halfway line. Now Shinnie back to DeLucas, level with the edge of the D, finds Kelly on the underlap. He's pulled it back, but it's straight to O'Reilly. And again, Matt O'Reilly's game awareness in both penalty areas is fantastic, and he was in the right position to pick up that pull back there and get Celtic up the pitch.
Well, that's what midfielders have got to do. You know, when your centre half's pulled out of position, they just slot in and they kill the space, and it gives you an extra defender.
Livy down the left with Newbley. We're in the final quarter of the match. Left-hand side, cross comes in. Anderson wins the header, but it's harmless. It was wide, high as well. Goal kick Celtic. 2-0 to Celtic, and those 2 Livingston changes are forthcoming. Down below us, Curtis Guthrie is coming on, try and alter things, and young Nigerian Samson Lawal will come on as well. Celtic win it back, and it's that man O'Reilly again in the midfield. McGregor to Taylor. Taylor on the turn, goes back to Scales. Scales in, firing it out onto the chest of Maida on this near side. Oh, will be on for Celtic shortly. Maida pinched it back off Bradley. Here's Taylor for Celtic, who was brought crashing to the ground by Bradley, and he too will be yellow carded. And I think that's just frustration boiling over for the former High B there. It will be a Celtic free kick. 2 changes then for Livy. Lawal and Guthrie will come on for them, and it looks as though it's going to be just now that they make the alterations. Indeed, the flag goes up on this near side, and the Celtic change is going to be made first. Kyogo off, O on. And Livingston changes. Andrew Shinnie off, Lawal on, and Guthrie will also come onto the pitch for James Penrice. Changes all round, Michael Stewart.
Yeah, it's understandable for Celtic, I think, with the game the way it is, to put on O and give him another opportunity, trying to work away into a side that is very difficult for him. You need to try and make sure that he can get as many minutes as possible, otherwise there gets a level of despondency. But, he needs to do more, I would suggest, with these moments that he's got in terms of scoring some goals.
Long ball into the box. Oh, gives chase. Goalkeeper comes out, gets something onto it. Oh, tries to keep it alive at the byline. Flag's gone up anyway, so it wouldn't have counted. And it stays 2-0 to Celtic. Just under 20 to play.
I'm still waiting for an injury for somebody with that late flag, and I know it's a VAR situation. I can't blame the assistants and all that, but you know, there's an instance where you've got a goalkeeper having to go into a tackle with a player who's just on the pitch, and then the flag goes up. It's just frustrating for me.
Here's Jason Holt picking up out to this near side for Bradley, midway inside the Celtic half. Back to DeLucas, turns away from O and rolls it back to Oberlai. He shifts it to the left for Parks. Across the halfway line he comes. Livy running out of time if they are to threaten the fact that Celtic, as it stands, will be collecting another 3 points here. And it would temporarily, at least, move them 5 clear at the top of the Premiership, sitting there in their closest challengers right now, and at home to Hearts, as Guthrie goes down to the edge of the box. No free kick though.
Could have went either way, that one, initially. I think the second one, yes, Guthrie pulled him, but I think initially he was getting his body into Lagerbielke, and he wasn't comfortable with it.
And yeah, goes Celtic's way. Taylor clips it forward, O flicks on. It's Oberlai picking it up in the halfway line though. Maida winning it back off Lawal. And it's turned by Maida to Iwata, who finds Taylor. Dinks it onto the chest of McGregor. Holt's challenge. And it's with Stephen Kelly, rolls it to Bradley on this near side. Bradley moving it back into the midfield for Lawal. Now it's with Holt. There's not really been any period in the game where it looks like Celtic have got a man fewer on the pitch. It's to their credit, but also Could Livingston be doing more to create the space as Newbley crosses in? Headed away by Scales. Bradley back into the Celtic box. Diving header away by Lagerbielke. And then Taylor smashes it clear. Comes off a Livy player. Breaks to Holt. Outside of the boot, ball back to Obalai in the centre circle. Now to the left of it for Lowell. Then Parks picks up on the left-hand side. Newbley makes a run ahead of him. Chip forward, Guthrie flicks on. Newbley had gone into an offside position by that point, though. Holt knocks it back into his own half. Here's Obalai to Shamal George at the edge of his own penalty area. Long right-footed ball into the Celtic half. Scales leaps. It's a good leap as well. He heads into the Livingston half. 17 minutes left. Livy 0, 10-man Celtic 2. A Tati penalty in the first half. O'Reilly early in the second. Joe Hart sent off in between. There's a dreadful ball by DeLucas, who gave away that penalty in the first half. And Lowell brings down Maida, and he is the latest in John Beaton's little black book.
Yeah, nobody's been asked to kind of almost play as a wing back now. I'm thinking surely you would want him in around the edge of the box. You know, you're 2 down. I know they've got Guthrie on, who's kind of almost playing up alongside Bruce Anderson, but just he's such a threat, you know, higher up the pitch.
Lagerbielke's long ball comes all the way to the left-hand side of the Livingston box. Oh, can't control it. It goes behind for a goal kick to the home team. To come at 3 o'clock here on Sportsound. Open all mics. Coverage of the 3 Premiership matches. Dundee, Kilmarnock, Hibs St Johnstone, St Mirren Hearts. Championship, Airdrie Wraith Rovers, Dunfermline Morton, Cali Thistle, Dundee United. Bottom of the table, the Highlanders, Partick Thistle, Arbroath. A 5-2 win for Ayr United against Queen's Park last night. And then the midweek, Kilmarnock Hearts in the League Cup on Tuesday. Live on Sportsound, Rangers Livingston, Ross County Aberdeen, Hibs St Mirren on Wednesday. Again, full coverage here on BBC Radio Scotland. The only place you'll get coverage of all 4 League Cup quarters. Here's O'Reilly back to Johnston. Forward to McGregor. Highlights of this game, incidentally, on Sports Scene 7:30 tonight on the BBC Scotland channel. O'Reilly goes back to Johnston.
Good early.
And back to Bain. First time ball from the Celtic sub-keeper. Headed back in field by Stephen Kelly. Headed away by Celtic. Headed forward by Parks. Headed away by Johnston. And completes the head tennis match. Here's Iwata. Square ball to Johnston, back to Lagerbielke. Looks up, right foot, side foot pass out to the far side for O'Reilly. Is brought to the ground by Stephen Kelly, and it remains 2-0 to the champions as O'Reilly bounces straight back up, taking the quick free kick while Stephen Kelly complained. Chip ball into the right hand side of the box for Iwata. Drives it across, cut out by Obalai, and that's going to... I thought it was going to stay in play there. The bounce off the artificial surface does eventually go out for a Celtic throw-in, level with the Livingston penalty spot on the far side.
Yeah, it was a good play by Iwata. That interchange from Iwata and McGregor's worked quite well. You know, both of them can play the holding player, and when one comes deeper, the other one pushes on, and he took the quick free kick and then made a really good run.
Chance here for Celtic. It's and it's wide. He was in a really good position as well, facing the goal, and somehow he shanked it wide of the right-hand post, and it stays 2-0 to the visitors.
You know, when I watch, I look and I think he's got all the attributes to be really effective, and I don't know whether it's just he needs more game time or what, but it's never really just been able to piece it all together. And I mean, that's a great strike on his left foot. If it goes in the back of the net, you're going, it's a wonder goal, but it doesn't. You know, it's another one of those ones that goes past the post and it doesn't come to anything. But I just, you know, I'm waiting for him to burst into life in terms of moments that affect the game, because, as I said, I look at him and think he's got all the attributes you'd want. He's just never really been able to piece it all together.
To Lucas for Livingston.
And sorry, the other thing I was going to say was, when you compare it with Giakoumakis, who he clearly is the replacement of, Giakoumakis scored goals. He couldn't help himself. He knew where the back of the net was, and that, as a striker, is what you're judged on.
Yeah, I think Giacomakis in the box also made good runs.
Brilliant runs.
He got across people. You know, it took him a while, but he certainly got into it, and he was a handful for teams. Coming off the bench too, very effective.
Here's O now, driving across the 18-yard line, slight challenge, it breaks to Iwata, who fires it high over the bar, and it will remain at 2-0, but Celtic are in complete cruise control here, and they're down to 10 men since the 28th minute of the game. Yeah, O's coming on, and he's missed that opportunity. Giacomakis, when he started games for Celtic, and it didn't come along that often, he'd go on and score a hat-trick.
Yeah.
But Kyogo Furuhashi is so important to this Celtic team, he was only getting the bit part.
Yeah, and if you were going to really be critical maybe of the sends in summer, I think that was an area where they could have maybe even, you know, gone out and got somebody that was. They'll have to probably rely on Maeda now as the third striker if something happens. Kyogo, they're in a bit of trouble.
He did pretty well there in that position for Japan at the World Cup last year, to be fair, didn't he? Daisen Maeda. Anyway, it's through with DeLucas on the halfway line for Livingston. Plays it forward. They are verging on the last 10 minutes here, Livy, and they're barely threatening Scott Bain. Changes haven't worked for David Martindale. Obalai launches it up into the air, drops down off Liam Scales. It'll break Anderson's way, looks to feed it out to Bradley, but McGregor's there to smash it clear. Oh Hyun-gu picks up, now to Maeda, back to O. Back into the centre circle he goes. He plays it short to Johnston, right to left of the circle from McGregor. Forward to O'Reilly, stabs it back to McGregor, who's down, fouled by Stephen Kelly. It looked as though he had been, yet the referee does give Celtic the free kick here, just a few yards away from the edge of the centre circle.
Celtic have been a lot sharper than Livingston today, you know, in those 50-50s. They're getting to the ball quicker, which is a surprise considering that they had that game on Wednesday night.
That's going to be another free kick and another yellow card. It's been littered with them, and Tom Parks is also booked by John Beaton, and Celtic have a free kick over on that far side, about from the right angle of the penalty area, and that is booking number 6 in the game.
So it was Tuesday night of the European game, so the extra day actually maybe has helped them to recover well, you know.
Yeah, they came back straight after the match, an overnight flight back to Glasgow. They had plenty of time, and perhaps it had been the Wednesday night, he would have been more inclined to make more changes to his starting 11. Brendan Rodgers, it was just the one that he did make, with James Forrest starting for the first time since the start of January, but his game lasted 28 minutes. He was the man sacrificed in the wake of the Joe Hart red. As O'Reilly stands over this free kick, right angle of the box, left-footed, he's gone for goal, but it's taken by Shamal George at his near post, and it will stay Livingston 0, 10-man Celtic 2. We're in the final 10. DeLucas driving forward, challenged by Maeda, but he's released Holt. Out wide right for Bradley, level with the Celtic penalty spot. Stephen Bradley taking on Taylor, chipping the ball to the back post. Nobody in yellows there. Johnston got the shout not to touch it, and it was behind for the goal kick. Again, Michael, another example of Livingston's performance in the final third today.
Yeah, it's a fair criticism. It's not really been at it to the level that they need it if they're going to get something against Celtic, and there has been vulnerability there that they've been able to expose and get into those dangerous areas, but they've not really been able to capitalise on it.
Lucas back onto the halfway line for Holt. He goes back to Obalai, who moves it right to left of the circle for Tom Parks. Out to Newbley, stepping in field away from Johnston. His pass is cut out by the first man, Iwata. Holt picks up the scraps, feeds it to DeLucas, to Holt, into DeLucas again. This ball forwards cut out by McGregor, and out it goes for a Livingston throw-in front of the Livy technical area. DeLucas bowling it back to Obalai, back to DeLucas on this near side. Chip ball, Guthrie gives chase. He's on it now. Scales comes out to meet him. Guthrie at the byline, gets the cross in, straight through to Scott Bain, who holds on, and there will remain Livingston 0, Celtic 2.
Yeah, so far I think Celtic have controlled the second half. Even down without that extra man, they just seem to have been sharp to the ball. All their top players have performed today, especially in movement off the ball. They've passed it well, and they haven't given Livingston the opportunities that maybe you would expect when you're down to 10 men.
A classy play by O'Reilly again over on the far side. Here comes Celtic with blocked well though by Newbley, wins it back for Livy. Livy need a goal now to make this a contest going into the closing minutes of the match. We've got a free kick over on the far side, level with the edge of the centre circle on the Livy left. They try and attack the goal to our right. We're at the back of the main stand here. Sparks plays it to Lawwell over there. It's a disguised ball, looking to try and get Guthrie involved. Lagerbielke's there. It's the touch onto it, and he's able to keep it in play, preventing the corner, hooking it clear. Parks returns it towards the Celtic box, but Tomoki Iwata's there, but he gives it straight to Stephen Kelly. Kelly back into his own half for Obalai. First time ball to DeLucas on this near side. On the turn, DeLucas being challenged by Maida, who does manage to get the tackle in and out for a throw into Livingston on this near side.
I've got to say he works really hard, isn't he? You know, he's playing as almost a striker, but every time DeLucas is getting the ball out here on the right hand side, beyond them maybe 10-15 yards, and he's getting himself back and putting vital, not clean tackles, but enough to put DeLucas off, and that's a great attribute to have.
Love to know how many miles he runs a season, Dyson Maida. Newbley picks up wide on the left. Johnston with a challenge, Newbley holding him off. Back to Parks, down the line for Holt. Infield to Newbley. Livy trying to pick a way through here, easier said than done, but it's good play by Newbley. It's a great challenge though over there by Johnston to halt Joel Newbley's progress, and out it goes for a Livy throw-in off Johnston.
I still think Newbley higher up the pitch at times would be a better bet for them, but you know, that's a decision by David Martindale, trying to get it, but maybe players on the pitch that's going to do something, because they haven't had anybody that's going to has really.
Yeah, Newbley pulls it into the box. Guthrie trying to keep it alive. Back out wide left for Newbley, turns it back to Parks. Poor ball by him though, straight to Johnston. Now O'Reilly. And Stephen Kelly gets there ahead of Iwata, but he can only hoist it forward, though the bounce is favoured Curtis Guthrie here. Guthrie, it's a dreadful ball by Guthrie, straight to Callum McGregor, and then it goes out of play for a goal kick to Celtic.
Yeah, that just shows you the pitch, how it can take funny bounces, spun off that pitch back into the inside, really. Foxed everybody out.
Again, Packy, it's decision making from Livingston. This time it's Curtis Guthrie. Gave it straight back to Celtic when he was inside their box.
Yeah.
Scott Bain prepares to take this goal kick. The seconds ticking away from Livy. Celtic looking good for a 5-point lead at the top of the top flight. 85.5 on the clock. Here's Maida. Maida gets behind Obalai, driving into the penalty area. Difficult angle for him as he shoots off Parks, and behind for a Celtic corner on this near side. Maida takes it short, quickly to O'Reilly. O'Reilly at the byline, bends it across the face of goal. Nobody in green and white hoops to knock it home. But here's an uncontested Lagerbielke on the right-hand side, crosses in. In fact, it was beaten away by Shamal George in his near post, and eventually Livy get it out for a Celtic throw-in over on the far side. This is going to be an afternoon to forget for Davy Martindale, but Brendan Rodgers will be fulsome in his praise of the 9 outfield players who've put in a power of work since James Forrest had to be sacrificed after Joe Hart's red card. They really have put in a power of work today.
Yeah, I agree, and he's got a reaction from them that he wanted. Nice and sharp around the pitch for most of the game, and I think they deserved. And goals change games, of course. Goals do change games. First goal took the pressure off them a little bit, allowed them to play. Second goal just after half-time, critical, absolutely critical. But they've hung on and they've defended well at the back in the second half, we've got to say, especially Liam Scales and Greg Taylor.
And in many ways, it's been 2 games within one. Celtic had that flamboyant opening half an hour where they looked like the Celtic of the last couple of seasons. And eventually they're going to be producing performance like that week after week, because relatively, by their standards, slow start to their title defence. With that excellent opening half hour, and the rest has been all about grit and determination, and still the flamboyance from the likes of O'Reilly. As DeLucas takes a throw in down this near side in the Celtic halves now with Bradley. Flag's being waved down below us for a foul on Greg Taylor, though, and that's a Celtic free kick, and they're getting ever closer to another 3 points in a game that could have potentially been problematic for them.
I'm just looking at that instant, and I mean, it's difficult to see because the bodies are in the way for us, but what I do know is that the linesman, for me, has reacted to the fact that Greg Taylor's gone down. I don't think he actually saw what had happened, and you can understand why the Livingston supporters are a bit disappointed by that. It's not to say that it wasn't, actually a free kick, but the linesman didn't know.
Bain with the long ball forward for Celtic. Goes down, challenged by DeLucas. He wins it back for Livy. Stephen Kelly, now DeLucas again. Maida's all over him.
Yeah,
and he's forced the error.
We talk about defending. If you've got players that high up the pitch, that's going to put the work rate in. Your job then as a defender at the back is so much easier at times. They've put a shift in, real shift, and Maida's been a great example of it.
Well, Martindale's eyes must have lit up when Joe Hart was sent off, not even half an hour into this game. They've been in no way able to take advantage of it. Their best opportunity in the second half came from a Scott Bain howler.
Yeah, that was their only chance, really, isn't it?
Pretty much.
They've been really disappointed. We did talk about putting balls into the box and so on, but that execution of those crosses have been very, very poor. Some of them have been played way beyond the back post. The others didn't beat the first defender. Never got into an area where you could actually ask questions of the centre halves of Scott Bain to come in and deal with them.
Well into the 90th minute here. Tom Parks is down receiving treatment. This game petering out. Goal in each half. Tate's penalty early on, relatively early on. And O'Reilly very early on in the second half, putting this game beyond Livingston, ensuring that Celtic's title defence remains unbeaten so far. That defeat in the League Cup will still be rankling with Brendan Rodgers as 4 minutes is added on at the end of this. We've gone into the first of the 4. Tom Parks still, though, on the deck, not moving, receiving treatment from the physios.
Yeah, I don't know what caused the injury to him. Whether did you see anything, Michael? Was it a head knock? Was it certainly it's upper body anyway.
Just another example of how far ahead Celtic are from the other clubs. Obviously the top 2 last season, miles ahead of everyone else, but even with 10 men, they've been able to keep Livy at arm's length. Tom Parks sitting up now.
Yeah, I think it's his shoulders that he's maybe come down heavily on.
We'll get you all the team news from the matches at Dens, Easter Road and in Paisley, and in the Championship as well, and we'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on across all 4 divisions of the Scottish Professional Football League. Open all mics from 3 o'clock. Sports Sound with you until 7 o'clock every Saturday. Zagas comes off the pitch. Tom Parks here. He'll be okay to come on for the final few minutes. So I think we can probably start the injury time, the 4 minutes now, even though one of them has already gone. Here's McGregor for Celtic. 10 against 10 at the moment as Iwata returns it into his own half for Scales. Scales with a long left foot ball, looking for headed away by DeLucas. Parks is back on. DeLucas plays it off Maida, and out of play for a throw-in on this near side. Maida's completing 90 minutes all the time now, plus the stoppage time. That wasn't always the case in his first little spell at the club.
Absolutely, and I think the same goes for Hatate when he was playing at his best. He was finishing the 90 minutes. I think when those players come first, they put such a work rate in, but their kind of almost spell was 60 minutes, and then they were kind of almost taken off the pitch. But now, once they got him up to speed, both Maeda and Hatate, chance, and Tati will come back to that level, I'm sure. But Maeda's his work rate is incredible, absolutely incredible. At times, maybe like the second goal, he misses big chances, but he gets himself in there, that's for sure.
Bradley on the right-hand side of the Celtic box pulls it back. Holt couldn't get there. Side-footed for goal by Newbley and blocked. Celtic get it away. Looked like it was opening up beautifully for Livingston there. Newbley switches it out to this right-hand side. Here's Bradley. He's been positive since he's come on, at least. Out wide right for DeLucas. Cross takes a touch off Taylor, breaks Maida's way, but it's given away to DeLucas inside the Celtic box. Little chip ball, and Johnston heads it behind for the corner. Livy score now, it would surely just be consolation though.
Yeah, it was a big chance. It was a big chance for Newbley, wasn't it? Mattarelli did brilliantly. He got in and had two. He tracked the runner initially and then had a great block from Newbley's shot that could have given Scott Bain a problem in goal.
Is he your man of the match, O'Reilly, today, Packy?
There's been a few, I must admit.
Okay, here comes Kelly with the corner towards the 6-yard line. Guthrie wins the header, it's over the bar, and it will stay Livingston 0, 10-man Celtic 2.
Yeah, to go back to your question there, I think he's been very, very good. He's got his goal, and he's reacted and worked up and down the pitch really, really well and passed the ball. But I think, Greg Taylor's been exceptional too, playing in his position, but also, contributing in midfield. McGregor's been good, and Liam Scales have got to pick him out of the back. They've been the standout players for Celtic today.
Mikey, what can David Martindale take from this ahead of Ibrox on Wednesday night?
Hopefully that he's not got any injuries. I mean, there's not a great deal, to be perfectly honest. They've not been clinical. They've not been anywhere near clinical enough at the top end of the park.
Yeah, and Maida's got goal side of Parks here in the latter stages. Steadies himself and scores! What a wonderful goal for Celtic! Dives in, Maida picks it up, right-hand side of the D, and bends a wonderful cultured shot into the left-hand corner, which Shamal George didn't even bother diving for. It was that good, it was that well placed, and it is going to be a big victory for the 10-man champions here in West Lothian. Livingston 0, Celtic 3.
And I think I've got to include him in the group that I picked out also. I left him out because his energy today, and that actually goal came from his energy too. He never gave up on it, and then he had the quality at the end to get a shot away. I would like to see it again to see how what part of the goal it went into. It looked a little bit centre, but it was a strike and the pace of the strike, and he deserves it because he's played really, really well. And if you've got a player with that sort of ability, but also with the energy rate, Michael, it's a wonderful player to have.
It's all over here, Mikey. Maida with a wonderful goal to round things off for Celtic.
Tremendous. I mean, the amount of times that he wins balls that he's second best for, and then the one thing you would say about him at times, lacking that little bit of composure or quality. He certainly wasn't missing it there. That was a great finish, and it rounds off what is a very, very good afternoon, early afternoon's work for Brendan Rodgers' men.
Yes, indeed, and they got the lead early in this 3-0 win. 14 in, a Hatate penalty after he'd been upended by DeLucas. Then came the big moment. Joe Hart sent off in 28 minutes as he came to the edge of his box and clattered into Sangare. John Beaton immediately produced the red, and the Celtic keeper was off, and the champions were down to 10 men. Scott Bain replacing James Forrest around about that time as well, as he was sacrificed as Bain took over from Hart between the sticks. Matt O'Reilly making it 2-0 just after the interval in 48, side-footing home after it came back to him on the rebound. He was in the right place as he normally is before Daisen Maida rounded off the scoring in the 5th and final minute of stoppage time at the end of a game. It was littered with yellow cards, littered with some scrappy play. Livingston poor in the final third, you would have to say. Their best chances spurned by Joel Newbley. There's a long-range effort from Opalai in the first half, which was kept out by Scott Bain as well. But David Martindale will want a heck of a lot better when they go to Ibrox in the League Cup quarters on Wednesday to face Rangers. For Celtic, it's a massive win for them. They always tend to be, but given the adversity that they have to come through to get to the 3 points today, it might taste that little bit sweeter for Brendan Rodgers and his players, who go to take their claim of 3/4 of Ammanvale, which is jam-packed with Celtic supporters. The champions go 5 points clear, 6 games into their title defence. After it finished here in West Lothian, Livingston 0, 10-man Celtic 3.
On digital radio,
FM,
online at BBC Sport Scotland,
your smart speaker,
and BBC Sounds.
This is Sport Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
Scottish football lives here.